Shiva Mahbobi, Workers' Communist Party of Iran. We talk with you about problems concerning work, but also women in Iran, because you are organizing a meeting about the condition of women. What's the situation?
Well, the situation of women in Iran is still same. You can't believe it. Since 37 years ago, they are still being oppressed. There are lots of laws in the constitution that officially says women is a second-class citizen. Worse than that, just recently, a week ago, lots of them got kind of arrested and harassed on the street for not wearing Islamic dress code. So they don't have right to divorce. They don't have the right to have the custody of the children. I mean, since 37 years ago, they've been fighting for their right, but yet no laws in Iran has changed, despite the fact the media trying to say Hassan Rouhani came on the power and now the situation of women is better. It's not at all. It's actually worse. There are tens of women political prisoners in prison. Some of them are brutally kept with these little kids. So a little kid is kept with the mom in a solitary confinement, which is quite brutal, but no one knows their name. No mainstream media mention any name whatsoever.
Someone said that the Iranian Revolution of 1979 was potentially a socialist revolution, but then was hijacked by the clerics. You are probably too young to remember it, but what do you think?
Well, I'm not very young actually. I was 10 years old when the revolution had started and I participated in the demonstration. Despite in many situations they say Islamic revolution, it's not. It was a leftist revolution. I mean, if we at the time, it could have been a really kind of if it was a socialist party, it could have been on power. But I think it is hijacked by the Islamists. If you look at all those pictures from that time, you see all these people, women, men, and they are fighting. And you don't see any sign of Islamic. Let me give you an example. In 1979, 8th of March, when the first time, when they hijacked the revolution, the regime came and said women should wear hijab. Millions of women came on the street. I said no to hijab. We didn't have revolution to go back again. So it is hijacked, unfortunately, and the only reason they kept and maintained their power in some way, it's because they have been executing, torturing, and killing people. And that's how, in a matter of dictatorship, they have kept the power so far. And of course, the international community, including the governments who have benefit, economical benefit, they don't support people in Iran. So that's why we need the support from people around the world.
What's the attitude of the Western world now to Iran? For a long time it was a loggerheads with Tehran, but now it looks maybe even too friendly.
Well, the reason is very obvious, because before the nuclear agreement, they wanted to put pressure on the regime in Iran to have a basically controlled Islamic regime in Iran. The governments, European government, North American, they don't want any revolution in Iran. They want to have a government in Iran that can maintain their own interests. Now, after the nuclear deal, in one hand, the Islamic regime knows that they're in a worst possible situation in Iran, economically, politically, and they wanted so badly to be involved in the international sort of meetings or agreements, and for the first time they agreed to the nuclear program. But then on the other hand, I think the European governments, they wanted this. They wanted to be able to still have access to the economical resources in Iran and in the Middle East, and basically they wanted to use that influence of Iran in Iraq, in Syria. So unfortunately, and it's very outrageous that in none of these negotiations they have ever talked about the human rights at all. The political prisoners, people like these three who are workers, the only crime they have, their labor unionists, they haven't talked about that. So now you can see how it shifted, how they don't talk about the human rights abuse in Iran, the prison in Iran, the situation of women, and they want to portray that everything is fine and Rouhani will change it, because the only thing they care is their economical interest, and that's why you can see that shift that they have regarding.
The regime claims to be an advocate of social rights, to be something very different from the capitalist system.
Who advocates?
The regime of Iran.
Well, of course, the regime in Iran is not going to say I'm killing people. The regime in Iran say I don't have political prisoners. Of course, they do that. That's, if you see, that's a pressure from people in Iran as well. It's not just those government. Because in Iran, even though you don't see it on media, there are strikes, there are activism, there are protests, even inside the prison. I'm the spokesperson for the campaign to free political prisoners.
Class struggle is going on.
And
The class struggle is going on.
absolutely. I mean, it's always going on. I mean, these people send letters from prison saying that this regime is brutal in dictatorship. So, of course, they would do. What kind of dictatorship, you know, through the history that they say, yes, we kill people and we like it? They won't say that.